Hello everyone and welcome back to the monthly deck building contest hosted by Architects.com. Welcome back everybody. Sorry I missed last month, but I am back. And this month I'm also bringing back my good buddy, my co-host Dana Roach. Dana, what's going on?
I am here and excited to talk about some hidden commanders on a cool architect list here. Yeah.
Hidden commanders, that's right. So this month, everybody, the prompt that we gave out to folks on Architects.com was to build a commander legal list with a hidden commander. In other words, your strategy should revolve around a card in the 99, which isn't necessarily a legendary creature, and then aim to consistently put that card into play, but it is not your chosen commander in the command zone. Dana, have you ever played with hidden commanders before? I know it's kind of been a little popular over the past few years.
I've never built a deck with a hidden commander, but I've borrowed one and played one a few years back that a friend of mine had, and I've played against those kind of decks before, but I've never actually brewed one.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we finally gave this a chance to breathe a little bit. I've heard of people brewing these types of decks fairly often. All the links for all the decks will be in the description of the YouTube video below, so make sure you check those out and upvote for all the decks you think are worthy. Whoever has the most upvotes on their deck will be declared the winner. And Dana, what does the winner get?
The winner gets card sphere credit for the finalists. First place gets $250, second place gets $150, and third place $100.
Awesome. Yeah, if you need a good place to just stretch your dollar when you're getting cards, CardSphere is an absolutely amazing place to do it. We're super happy to partner with CardSphere for the contest. And with that, I guess let's get into the deck. So Dana, what is the first finalist that we have to talk about?
Finalist number 1 was submitted by user Ifenjeff. I believe I said that correctly.
I think that's close, yeah.
The commander is Iname Death Aspect, an old mono-black commander from the original Kamigawa block.
But the hidden commander here is the Capitoline Triad. This came out in the Assassin's Creed set. It's 10 mana for a legendary God Artificer. It's a 7/7, and this spell costs 1 less for each historic card in your graveyard. So the more historic cards you have in your graveyard, artifacts, legendaries, sagas, makes this card cheaper to cast. But an interesting part with this that synergizes with the rest of the deck is that you can exile any number of historic cards from your graveyard with total mana value 30 or greater to get an emblem that makes all of your creatures have a base power of 9/9. When Iname enters the battlefield, you get to search your library for any number of spirit cards and put them into your graveyard. So if you look at the deck, there's a category here that just says fodder, and it's a bunch of super high cost, high mana value spirits that you want to pitch into your yard, fill that up real quick, and then you can cast Capitoline Triad and then just crank out that emblem almost immediately. You have cards like Myojin of Grim Betrayal, you have Myojin of Night's Reach, Mora, Urborg Haunt, Kakusho the Evening Star. All like fairly playable commander cards, but you want to get rid of these as soon as possible because the Capitoline Triad powers up so many fun cards in the rest of the deck.
Well, I mean, it just makes sense if you want to get a 10 mana value hidden commander out that you want to have a 6 mana value actual commander to help cheat that into play. I mean, that's just good math.
It's good math, yeah.
And joking aside about Iname's cost, it actually is kind of a perfect commander to do this with. It's going to go get the things that you want to put in your graveyard that you can then use to get the Triad out. So while it looks a little bit absurd on paper, it actually is a pretty clever way to do this.
Yeah, it's super fun. And then once you get that emblem out there, you have so many options. You have cards like Ghoul Color Gisa. That gets super, super powerful all of a sudden when you pay 1 mana, tap Gisa, sacrifice a 9/9 to get 9 more 9/9s. There's all sorts of just wild synergies going on there. The one that I think I especially like is Threefold Thunderhulk, which is a card that I don't think we get to see very often, but it's 7 mana for a 0/0 gnome, which enters with 3+1/+1 counters on it, and whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you create a number of 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens equal to its power. So when it enters, it comes in with a base power of 9/9s. You're getting at least 9 9/9s when it comes in, and at least 9 more when it attacks. You get so many massive bodies with this deck. It's super fun. I love what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, the ability to turn any of your like small tokens into 9/9s, I mean, that's just game ending in almost any situation, and it's going to make even cards, you know, in Commander, Bitter Blossom is relatively unassuming, making a 1/1 fairy every turn.
Yeah.
It's a whole different deal when you're just spitting out a 9/9 every single turn.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And then there, you have fun cards to play around, like Mandate of Abaddon. Choose target creature you control, destroy all creatures with power less than that creature's power. Well, that just means unless they have Eldrazi walking around on the battlefield,
right,
you're blowing up all your opponent's stuff. So this is a really cool deck. This is a really fun, I think it's a good first entry to kind of seeing what Secret Commanders can kind of do. So Dana, why don't you get us into our next entry here?
Finalist number 2 was submitted by a username Just a Random MTG Player. So that's kind of all of us.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. In the commander is Sidar Jabari of Zalfir. Esper commander, 4 mana, and it has an Eminence ability. Whenever you attack with 1 or more knights, if Sidar Jabari is in the command zone or on the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. It has flying and first strike, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can return target knight creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it's a 4/3.
When you look at the deck, this is a mono black Esper deck. There's actually only 2 ways to make either white or blue mana, which means I don't think you're ever casting your commander. You just want it for the Eminence ability. You want to crank this through to find the hidden commander, which is Haakon Stromgald Scourge, which is 1 black for a 3/3. You may cast Haakon Stromgald Scourge from your graveyard, but not from anywhere else. And as long as Haakon is on the battlefield, you may cast night spells from your graveyard, and when Haakon dies, you lose 2 life.
You have the ability right there, once you have that in your hand, baked into the commander, Sidar Jabari, even if it's in the command zone, you can draw a card and then pitch Haakon and have him right there in the graveyard where you want him.
I think for me, it's one of those opportunities. You get a cool way to showcase a commander that you're normally not going to ever see, like Haakon Stromgald Scourge. But since it's your hidden commander, you have a deck built around it. You have a actual commander that plays very well into that. So I think this is a really good narration of what you could be doing if you're playing a hidden commander type of deck.
And this winds up being a little bit of a combo deck here in a way. It's kind of built around a little bit of a complicated combo here. If you have a cheap 1 or 2 mana knight out, then a Phyrexian Altar, and some kind of a permanent that drains each opponent for damage, you can kind of create a short loop where you sacrifice a knight to one of the altars and make enough mana to then recast it. Because Haakon lets you cast a thing from the graveyard, something that drains will then drain somebody for the creature dying. You can recast it, sacrifice it, drain somebody, recast it again. So it's built around making a loop using Haakon, but you have to get a whole lot of pieces out to make that happen.
Yeah, whether it's Changeling Outcast or I didn't really ever want to see Knight of the Ebon Legion back again ever, because that card was the bane of when I was trying to play 60 card formats last. It is a good place for this. You get some infinite combos in there, but even then you get to play a Knight deck, which is perfectly viable even when you're playing mono black. There's all sorts of ways you can power things out, so it's an interesting deck.
And despite running a whole bunch of tutors too, there's really only targets that enable the things the deck is doing with those tutors. So like while it's a tutor heavy deck, they're pretty limited in what they're going to go get, and that makes for an interesting way to brew a deck that does have that many ways to go seek something out. You're still very restricted in what they can do.
Absolutely. Well, Dana, wrap us up then real quick. What is the final deck, our third entry that we're going to talk about?
The third entry comes to us from a user named Username1. So we're really digging deep here in the usernames, and it's a Kykar Wins Fury deck.
Yeah, so Kykar, the Jeskai legend. Whenever you cast non-creature spells, you create 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying, and then you can sacrifice a spirit to add a red mana to your mana pool. Well, the hidden commander here is also a Jeskai card. It is the Soulfire Grand Master. 1 and a white for a human monk. It's a 2/2 with lifelink. Instant and sorcery spells you control have lifelink. And then you can pay 2 and 2 Izzet hybrid mana. And the next time you cast an instant or sorcery from your hand this turn, put that card into your hand instead of the graveyard as it resolves. So 4 mana to recycle instants and sorceries that you're casting. I remember when it was first printed, I thought everybody was going to put this in every Jeskai deck, but then back then also, there just weren't a ton of Jeskai decks, so we didn't get to see very many Soulfire Grandmasters. I'm excited to see it show up here. Dana, what are we doing here with this strategy, though?
I mean, the first thing we're going to be doing here is assuring everyone at the table that it's not that Kykar deck, which is always going to be a challenge, because when people say that, it usually is that Kykar deck. And in this case, it's not, but you will have to make sure you convince everyone you're playing with that it's not the typical Kykar deck, because it very much isn't.
It very much is not. Yeah, it's not just the typical, I'm going to play a bunch of cantrips, I'm going to make a ton of mana, and I'm going to burn you out or combo you out. This is actually committed to the bit. The only creature in the 99 is Soulfire Grandmaster, which means you get to play some fun ways, cast Transmogrify, for example, cards like Polymorph, Chaos Mutation to find Soulfire Grandmaster. That's the only creature you can hit. And then you're just playing a bunch of burn from there.
Yep.
I love casting City on Fire. That's absolutely a super, super fun card. But getting to do it with stuff like, I don't know, Star of Extinction just seems hilarious to me, especially when you have Soulfire Grandmaster taken in the picture.
Yeah, like any time you can cast something as ridiculous as Star of Extinction is a good time. And like this deck is basically built around casting a bunch of kind of absurd burn spells.
Well, hear me out, Dana. Calamity of Cinders also gets to exist in this deck.
Yes.
Immolating Gyre. I love casting. I have it in a couple decks of my own, and this is a perfect place to see it. It's just fun seeing all these great budget powerhouses.
And there's even a few effects in here, like a Light of Sanction and Mark of Asylum, that have variants on prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to creatures you control, or prevent all damage that would be dealt to creatures you control by sources you control. So ways to keep your stuff alive when you are doing all this kind of mass burn to all creatures and players.
Yeah, it's a super fun deck. I love getting to see burn when it gets to happen in Commander, because just the way that burn usually happens when it's designed on cards, it doesn't scale well to 40 life formats, multiplayer formats. There's a lot that you have to work through when you're trying to play burn in Commander. This is a really fun way to try and make that work. I love seeing that. It's super cool. All three of these entries, yes, they're all following the same prompt, but they're narrating something a little bit different about just the benefits of getting to play around the restrictions.
There's a time capsule feel to a lot of to all three of these decks.
Just
older cards from Magic's history that we don't see very often. I just love seeing in that decks that just makes a brew feel really fresh and exciting to me, and all three of these decks accomplish that.
Yeah, I would love to see these in person. I would love to play against these. Again, as always, I'm probably going to upvote all three of these entries because they all just did a really good job of just taking care of the prompt and expressing it in a really fun way.
Yep.
So make sure viewers out there, get your votes in. You have it till October 23rd to vote. Click on the deck links in the description below, give them those upvotes, and whoever has the most upvotes will be the winner.
Folks are winning $250 in Card Sphere credit for first place, $150 for second, and $100 for third. And that will buy you a whole lot of singles to build your own deck with a hidden commander.
This is so fun. I love getting to do these contests every month. And with that, why don't we just sign off here? Make sure you go vote, everybody. Dana, if anybody wants to check out more of you and your content, where can people find you?
You can find me online at Dana Roach. I write articles for EDHREC and Commander's Herald, and you can find me with my good friend Matt Morgan on the EDHREC cast every Friday.
Yep, you can find me on pretty much any social media platform as well, at Mathimus55. That's MATHIMUS55. And with that said, everybody, again, make sure you get your votes in by the 23rd, and we'll see you next month. And until then, happy brewing.